Cerberus, known as the Hound of Hades, is one of the most iconic monsters in Greek mythology. He is a multi-headed dog, typically described as having 3 heads, that guards the gates of the underworld to prevent the dead from escaping and the living from entering. Cerberus serves as the loyal watchdog of Hades, the god of the underworld, and is a symbol of the power of death and the afterlife. Origins and description. Cerberus was born to the monstrous couple Typhon and Echidna, making him a sibling to other famous creatures such as the Lernaean Hydra, the Chimera, and the Nemean Lion. Like his siblings, Cerberus was a fearsome beast. Although he is most commonly described as having 3 heads, some variations of the myth depict him with as many as 50 or even 100 heads. In addition to his heads, Cerberus was said to have a serpent for a tail and sometimes serpents emerging from various parts of his body. Each of Cerberus' heads was believed to represent different aspects of time, one for the past, one for the present, and one for the future. His role as the guardian of the underworld made him a figure to be feared by both the dead and the living. Role in Greek mythology. Cerberus is best known for his role as the watchdog of the underworld. Stationed at the gates of Hades, his job was to ensure that the souls of the dead could not leave the underworld, and that no living being could enter without permission. His fearsome appearance and relentless nature made him nearly impossible to overcome, but there are a few myths where heroes manage to bypass or defeat him. Cerberus in the labors of Heracles. One of the most famous stories involving Cerberus is his encounter with Hercules, during the hero's 12th labor. As his final labor, Heracles was ordered by King Eurystheus to bring Cerberus to the surface world. This task was meant to be impossible, as no mortal had ever entered the underworld and returned alive, let alone captured the monstrous Cerberus. Heracles descended into the underworld with the help of the gods Hermes and Athena, and asked Hades for permission to take Cerberus. Hades agreed on the condition that Heracles could subdue the beast without using any weapons. With his great strength, Heracles wrestled Cerberus and, despite the creature's fierce resistance, managed to bring him to the surface. After showing Cerberus to Eurystheus, Heracles returned the hound safely to Hades. Other myths involving Cerberus. Orpheus. In the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, Orpheus plays his lyre to soothe Cerberus, allowing him to enter the underworld to retrieve his wife Eurydice. Aeneas. In Roman mythology, the hero Aeneas also encounters Cerberus during his journey to the underworld. He pacifies the beast by feeding him a drugged honey cake, allowing him safe passage. Psyche. In the story of Psyche, she too must pass Cerberus on her way to the underworld. Like Aeneas, she uses a honey cake to distract the beast. Symbolism of Cerberus. Cerberus is often interpreted as a symbol of the boundary between life and death. His role as the guardian of the underworld represents the idea that death is a final, inescapable fate, and his ferocity serves as a deterrent to any who would dare to challenge that boundary. He also symbolizes the power of Hades and the inevitability of death. Legend of Cerberus. Deep in the underworld, Cerberus stood guard at the gates of Hades, his 3 heads ever vigilant. No soul could leave, and no living being could enter the realm of the dead without facing the hound's wrath. His serpent-like tail lashed behind him, and from his jaws came the growls of the past, present, and future. It was Heracles, the greatest of heroes, who dared to face the beast. As his final labor, Heracles descended into the underworld. With the blessing of Hades, Heracles approached the monstrous Cerberus. Without the aid of weapons, Heracles used only his immense strength to grapple the beast, and though Cerberus fought fiercely, Heracles subdued him and brought him to the surface world. Cerberus' legend lives on as a reminder of the power of the underworld, a fearsome guardian of the dead, and a challenge to even the greatest of heroes.